press patients. Okay, so welcome to the Technology Committee. Today is June 25th, as you all know. If you don't know, it's June 21st, rather. And, so with that, we can get that roll call. We'll proceed with the meeting.
Supervisor Hahn is absent. Supervisor Bartlett?
Here.
Mayor Mitchell?
Here.
Supervisor Perez?
Here.
Councilmember Robinson?
Here.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Here. Hey, we have a quorum. We're going to see members of the public are here. We will get to you when the item's called. And if you're here to speak on general public comment, we will call you towards the end of the agenda. So with that, let's now take item number one. Item number one is for us.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is Barbara Beard. Could I make an announcement first before we do item number one?
Absolutely not. Just kidding.
Okay, so Vera Tiagi, who's been handling this committee for the legal office, is out on maternity leave. And we are welcoming Megan Lorenz, a Principal Deputy District Counsel, who will be handling this committee in Vera's absence. Megan just came back from maternity leave, so there's a nice balance there. Raise your hand so everybody knows who we're talking about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Barbara. Thank you, Megan. And looking forward to working with you. And congratulations.
Thank you.
I know.
Okay, get a water.
So with that, item number one.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. The item before you is to amend the awards for alternative fuel school bus replacement program. Just a background, in May of last year, the board approved awards to 42 public school districts for the replacement of 206 pre-1994 diesel school buses with alternative fuel buses equipped with optional low-NOx standard engines. Some of these awards were based on a propane-powered engine that was pending certification by Air Resources Board and was ultimately not commercialized at the time. And there were 15 school districts that were affected by this issue, and the total funding allocated for these 15 awards was $10,291,000 and towards 82 new propane buses. In your handouts, there's a typo. The real amount, the right amount is $10,291,000. So we just changed it before the presentation. So since the board approval, the Air Resources Board has certified new bus options, including propane buses that is certified to meet the near zero emission optional low-NOx standard of 0.02 grams, as well as battery electric buses from several suppliers. So staff surveyed the affected school districts and presented them with the available near zero and zero technology options. And all these school districts selected a lower emitting bus option compared to the original award, total of 82 buses. So for those school districts that have selected a lower emitting bus option compared to the original award, additional grant funds will be needed to offset the higher cost of the buses. So staff proposes to provide the following additional amount per school bus. On the right-hand column, for propane bus, $4,000, for CNG bus, $26,000, and for electric bus, $54,500. It is anticipated that ARB, through its HVIP funding, will co-fund the purchase of these buses by allocating $45,000 per CNG bus and $220,000 per electric school bus. So the amended awards in combination with HVIP funding would provide up to $400,000 for an electric school bus, $196,500 for a CNG bus, and $129,500 for a propane bus. As far as the emission reduction benefits by implementing these amendments, the original propane bus was being 0.05 grams of NOx For the proposed CNG and propane bus being 0.02 grams, we'll get 60% emission reduction. If you compare it to the current NOx emission standard for heavy duty, we would achieve 90% emission reduction, and for electric school bus, definitely is 100%. Based on our survey, the following school districts prefer to purchase propane buses certified to meet the near zero optional no-NOx standard of 0.02 grams. So additional funds of $100,000 will be needed to accomplish this. And the following school districts will have the option either going CNG or electric. If they go to CNG, we might need $1,482,000. If every school district goes to electric, which is not going to happen, we will need additional $3,106,500 from AB 923 funds. As far as the requirements that were included in the original awards will remain the same. One of them is the required minimum local match funds for each school district, which is $10,000 per school bus. We will award $5,000 for infrastructure per school bus. The school districts will have they have to provide their own money to purchase any options they might have on a school bus, and all school buses will be permanently destroyed by a licensed dismantler. So the recommended action is to amend awards with the 15 school districts to purchase cleaner technology buses in an amount up to $3,206,500 from the Carmel Program AB 923 Special Revenue Fund 80. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Let me just say, this was a big issue that came before us during the public comment a few months back from the school districts on the different types of engines and buses that they were able to use. And I just want to thank Matt and his team for finding some compromise between the school districts and the bus manufacturers. This is opportunity to allow them to both use electric and bus forward. And also the added monies that will be used for infrastructure at these school districts. Thank you, Matt, for the concerns that were raised by the school districts. So, colleagues, any questions or comments from item number 1 that's before us?
Mr. Chair, I have a question or two.
Yes, sir. Supervisor?
Thank you. And staff, appreciate the report. I'm wondering, I know that this program's been going on for a while. I noticed that on the list, there was not one school district from the county of Riverside. And so I'm just wondering what the outreach efforts were like, if folks from the county of Riverside have applied in the past, over the years. What does that look like if that's the case? Just trying to better understand perhaps why it is that maybe folks are not applying, or maybe we're not doing enough outreach. I'm just trying to understand the big picture here.
Well, on this list, there are 5 school districts from LA County, 8 school districts from Orange County, 1 from San Bernardino, and 1 from Riverside. The Riverside.
Which is that one from Riverside?
Newview Union School District.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Newview Union School District.
Okay. All right, but still, it's I'm just trying to understand as well. There's one school district versus all the others. Is it a lack of folks not wanting to apply, or what's your take on that?
So we can get you the information, but we have had schools from Riverside apply beforehand. I just don't have that in front of me. So this was also a continuation of a previous award. So we'll get you all that information.
Yeah, I'd like to understand the bigger picture, meaning over the course of years, right? Which school districts have applied, and quite frankly, what are we doing to ensure that there's equity on these efforts throughout our counties? And so I'd like to know a little bit more about the outreach efforts and things of that nature, so we can get more so the underserved school districts to apply for this important program. So I'll wait on that information whenever you have it ready for me.
So just to give you a small taste of the information, Supervisor, at the original award, there were 41 buses awarded, 19 awarded to Riverside, so there's 6 school districts that applied. But like I said, we'll get you all that information, including the outreach
I
information.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, colleagues?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Robinson?
First, I just want to say thanks for all the effort that you put into this, especially I'll echo the comments that the chair made about infrastructure. That's going to be important as some of these school districts are switching from one technology to the other. Some of the school districts, I think a couple from Orange County came and spoke. I've heard continued frustration with the entire process. And so one thing that I'd like to try to encourage us to do moving forward is that, as we're putting together the application guidelines for school districts, that we're looking at what we're including in there, and if we foresee things might be changing in the near future, trying to account for that in some way. I think there was a lot of confusion because with the propane, the way it stands now, it's a 0.02 gram.
Yes.
And was it 0.5 before, or was it 0.2 in the initial?
0.05.
0.05 and
Yeah, so originally what happened is we didn't know which engines would be certified,
Sure.
so we said it had to meet at the maximum the existing standard, which is 0.2, but the whole program is a lower emission school bus program.
Sure.
So the intent, at least staff's intent, was to always award to the lowest available technology. I think some school districts, we didn't communicate that clearly enough, and so they thought they could apply under the 0.2 gram standard. But if we awarded 0.2 gram, it wouldn't help us in toward the goals of the program or toward our attainment goals. And so as these new engines became certified, those are the ones that we prioritized.
Sure. And so it's just trying to foresee what may become certified and trying to make sure that language is clear, because it caused a lot of confusion. I think ultimately a lot of delay, and now also ultimately some extra expenditure that we're going to be putting toward this. And it's we don't have a pile of money coming at us on a constant basis to the level we need it. And so I think that it's going to impact, future awards to a certain degree. I have read and heard over the last couple of months, I think Senator Harris has been pushing electric school buses at the federal level. And so hopefully there'd be some funding that could come from that if that's successful in some way. But, I know that this is going to be a big challenge for us. And really what we want to do is just get those older buses off the road as quickly as possible and get lower emission buses in place as quickly as we can in all 4 counties. And so, speaking a little bit to Supervisor Perez's comments, I know in years past, as I've been sitting on this, Orange County's had a small number. This particular award, they had a fairly big number, so it does kind of bounce back year to year. And I appreciate the outreach that you all do. But I just wanted to make sure that I shared those comments and explained how the school districts felt. They're very, the ones that have talked to me are very appreciative of the efforts that you all have taken to try to make sure that as that standard has changed, we've been looking for money to try to make sure that they have what they need to replace those buses. And so just want to say thanks for that. But maybe in the future, as we're looking at these, we can pay a little special attention to the changing dynamics. I know multiple agencies, it's not our own, we've got to try to look at a crystal ball to a certain extent, but that's just my encouragement.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, hearing none.
I have a
Any
question.
member of the public? Oh, yes?
I'm from the public, is that okay? Can I speak?
Sure. Oh,
Okay.
public comment, we'll take that in a moment.
Okay.
We have members of the public, please come forward if you'd like to speak on item number 1.
Okay, council member, we have Harvey Etter here at the CC8.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Please bring Harvey up, please, to speak on item number 1.
Harvey, do you have multiple items for me to speak on?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so what we've done the last two committee meetings, stationary and mobile sources, since folks might have comments on multiple items, we've been offering them 3 minutes total for all of the items, and then an additional 3 minutes for public comment. And it's up to the chair's discretion if you would like to follow that policy again here.
I would. So, Harvey, you have 3 minutes to speak on all the cards that you pulled and 3 minutes of public comment.
Okay, well, this is being done under protest.
General public comment, rather.
Yeah.
3 minutes. of general.
Being done under protest to those conditions. In reference
Noted.
to number one, okay? We should quit messing around with fossil fuels and just go to solar renewables. And as the supervisor mentioned equity, I've heard that equity under the new administration now, this is kind of secondhand from someone that was appointed to a high position, is now looked at as, equal to the environment. So going back to work we did, the low-income solar equity program 40 years ago, that needs to be redone. This was with the Public Utilities Commission. In this culture, the more equity you got, the more equal you are. Okay, there needs to be vertical and horizontal integration of these industries, and to be integrated like with the private sector, like Tesla, BYD, and hybrids with the state, and for low and middle income, working with the retirement planners like Gilly owns that are in half a dozen states now, as well as existing unions and retirement funds and whatnot. And to try to look at future industries that are going to come from these technologies, information, and whatnot. Reserve time.
Thank you, Mr. Etter. Thank
And
you.
we do have one more.
And we have one more public comment here, Councilmember, Mr. Mike Bullen.
Welcome. Thank you. 3 minutes on the clock, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Mike Bullen from US Gain. In reference to there's the use of the CNG buses, the near zero, the 0.02, there's an additional funding for HFIP for $45,000, I understand, if you use the RNG, the renewable natural gas. Is there a provision if a school district is using a public access station that is being supplied with RNG, can they claim that HFIP additional funding? That's my request to the board.
We would have to just ensure that it works out with ARB, because ARB is the one who administers the HVIP funding, but we
Yes.
have close.
If the
contact
customer could prove
that
that there is
should
RNG being
satisfy.
supplied, then would
Should
that,
satisfy that
okay,
requirement.
very good.
But we'll check.
Okay, that would make a difference for some customers using the natural gas buses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so no other member of the public like to speak on item number one. Let's now take the vote. Roll call vote, please, on item one.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell,
Well, I don't know. I
Is there a
don't recall we had a motion. Did we have a motion? I'll move approval.
My
I'll second.
apologies. We have a motion to approve and second. We have a second.
Yes.
Dwight seconded.
Thank you, Judy. With that, roll call vote.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Mosqueda.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes.
Thank you. Let's take item number two now.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present several projects that we were just awarded from the EPA recently. And this item is to recognize that revenue, execute and amend contracts, and reimburse general fund for administrative costs. First of all, top NOx emission categories to meet our 2023 goals are the heavy-duty diesel on-road trucks and off-road mobile equipment. OEMs have been working with zero emission and developing zero emission battery electric class 6 and 8 trucks and also off-road equipment. They're currently in demonstration and moving towards commercial availability. The South Coast was awarded 2 U.S. EPA grants for both of those categories that we proposed for, both on-road and off-road. We received $2.1 million for battery electric construction equipment, and also about $4.2 million for zero emission battery electric on-road trucks. First project is with Volvo, and that is for their electric off-road construction equipment. 2 pieces of equipment that they're developing. One is an electric excavator, and the other is an electric wheel loader. Both of these have 3 to 8 hours of operation, and they have quick charge capabilities. In their proposal, they are proposing to do the vehicle development, do a 6-month demonstration, and also apply for CARB certification. And then also seek incentive funding for older equipment replacement. This is a program that CARB is working on, which is similar to HVIP for on-road vehicles, and this is for off-road. Also, they are looking to launch these 2 products in early 2022. Here's the project cost from the EPA, about $2.1 million. Volvo is going to contribute about $1.2 million, and the total is about $3.3 million for the entire project. The next project is with Daimler Trucks North America. Daimler, as you remember, we came to the board in July of 18 to ask for funding for that project. And that project includes 15 Class 8 electric trucks, as well as 5 Class 6 electric trucks, and also DC fast charging. In their proposal that we submitted to the EPA, Daimler plans to deploy an additional 35 battery electric trucks, and it's based on what they're developing now in our existing project with them. 15 of these vehicle deployments will be with US Foods in La Mirada. 10 of those will be Class 8 e-Cascadia trucks and 5 Class 6 trucks. The remaining 20 vehicle deployments, we haven't identified fleets yet, but we're working with DTNA to identify those fleets, which will include 10 Class 8s and 10 Class 6. And also they will, just like in our existing project, they'll implement DC fast charge infrastructure at the fleet sites. This project cost, EPA is putting in about $4.2 million. DTNA will contribute $3.3 million, and also HVIP and Charge Ready, just over $5 million. Now, DTNA, if the Charge Ready or the HVIP does not materialize, they have committed for the complete $8.3 million in cost share needed for this program. And that will be a total of about $12.5 million. Next, there are 2 contract amendments where we were awarded some EPA funding, and we're going to add it to 2 existing projects. One of them is the first one I described with DTNA. In that project that we brought to you in July of 18, had $2 million in co-funding from the ports, and also $500,000 from US EPA CADI funds. And at that time, in that board letter, we said that we were going to continue to look for additional funding for the project to lower our cost share for the project. And we found that with this year's 2019 CADI funds, an additional $500,000 from EPA, and we're going to dedicate that to the project. In January of 19, the board approved a $3 million contract with Clean Energy. This is for near zero emission natural gas trucks with a trade down pilot. EPA, we applied for additional funds for that project, and we were awarded $1.5 million in DERA funds for the project. The proposal for the DTNA is to recognize the CADI funds, modify the DTNA contract to add those funds, which will reduce AQMD's cost share, as I mentioned. The Clean Energy Market Acceleration Program, we want to recognize the funding, of course, from EPA, and then modify our contract to expand the scope to an additional 25 trucks in that project, and also for the scrapping of those 25 trucks. Recommended actions are to recognize the revenue into their Clean Fuels Fund, up to $6.3 million from the EPA for the 2 airshed grants, up to $1.5 million from the EPA for the DERA grants, and then also recognize $500,000 from the EPA CADI funds. Also, we want to execute contracts with Clean Fuels Funds 31 with Volvo Technology for the construction equipment, up not to exceed $2 million, and DTNA to deploy the zero-emission battery electric trucks for $4 million, and then amend the contracts with Clean Fuels Funds, the DTNA adding $500,000 in CADI funds, and then with Clean Energy, about $1.4 million in DERA funds to expand that project, and also reimburse the general fund for administrative costs for several of those projects in the amount of $387,000. And that's it. Any questions?
Much. Thanks for the presentation. We applied for this is a significant award, colleagues. I don't think we were expecting to get some money from the federal government in light of what the state of California is doing in response to the administration. But this is significant. It's a great award. Doing all we can to lower emissions, and this is really appreciate the staff for putting in landing this significant award. Colleagues, any questions on item 2?
Just have a quick one, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Mr. Robinson, go ahead, Mike.
So on the Daimler Trucks North America, with the trucks, the electric trucks, Class 6 and Class, is it? Maybe they're all Class 6 and Class 8, right? So in the deployment stage, they're all being designed right now to meet an 80,000 pound gross. I know that there've been a few pieces of legislation that haven't passed that have been about discussing the potential increase of weight limits for electric trucks because of the extra weight of the batteries themselves. I'm curious as to whether or not there might be some opportunity in the deployment there to kind of take a look at what kind of impact that extra weight might have on the batteries themselves and what kind of range they get. Because I know that we're looking at looks like 150 to 200 mile range there. So what would that impact be if they were pulling a heavier cargo load at, say, like an 84,000? So is it 5% increase in weight?
I think the increase is only for a couple thousand pounds for the cab. And so I wouldn't, what percentage of that of 80,000 in reference to 80,000 versus 82,000? I don't think it's going to be that big of a impact to the batteries as far as that.
Yeah, and that's mainly what I'm looking at. So it's you've got, so if it's 2,000, you've got a 2.5% weight increase there. So does it have a 2.5% impact on the battery, or does it have something higher because now it's trying to pull,
Right.
a heavier weight than what it was designed to pull? So
Yeah, so the intent of the existing project, so the one that we're conducting now, is for them to fine tune and optimize the trade-offs between range and essentially cost.
sure.
Right, so that's what they're gonna be doing now, and then once they set that kind of production architecture, that's when they'll deploy these, because these are really gonna be more the pre-commercial, commercial type fleet vehicles. So I think now is the time that they're gonna be looking at what is that trade-off going to be. So they're doing it now, essentially.
Okay. Great.
That's a good question, because they're trying to find the spot where they can be the most economical.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of also looking back at this, very first 8.9 liter LNG and just the impact that it had, that it was kind of like really unexpected with the industry that it went into, and so it left a bad taste in the users' mouths, and I don't want to see that happen again with newer technology. So that's my concern.
Yeah, hopefully everyone learned from that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Is just that lessons learned. We're using that moving forward.
The good news is when we're working with large OEMs now, they completely get that reputational concerns, and so they're doing it right. They're data logging all the vehicles. They're looking at how they can optimize. They're actually looking also at the charging schedule and how they operate the vehicle. So they're doing it the way you probably should do it, or we should have done it at the very beginning.
So I know there's this initial hesitancy when it comes to costs and infrastructure and everything else about electric and how's this going to work. And so any little thing that might cause a negative perspective to develop, I want to try to make sure that we can find a way around. So.
Excellent comments. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments, colleagues?
No questions, but we will have public comment from when you're ready.
Okay, let's take public comment.
Harvey Etter, please. How much time does Mr. Etter get? No, this is still an agenda item.
He has 2 additional minutes for the additional 2 items, so he can allocate.
So, Mr. Etter, you have 2 minutes to speak on items 2 and 3.
Well, 3 hasn't been presented, right? So let me just stick to 2. I'll take a minute, maybe a minute and a half on 2.
Very good.
Okay. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm talking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition and for 80-90% of the people, citizens that want to see a just, equitable solar transition ASAP. All of this needs to be done with energy equity. The solar electric vehicles, we've got to get rid of this renewable natural gas. Here is the thumb drive. This is in evidence here and in other items on the proceeding and in the other 2 committees that I covered this morning, as well as the 6/8/17 meeting last night. The local groups, these folks, they want this. They want ZEVs now. The state killed this, CARB. Who killed the electric car? That's incorporated into reference by record here as well. State did, you folks did. It's time not to do the same wrong thing and to do this and to do it equitably and to have co-ops and partnerships to own these trucks and the solar systems and whatnot. You get the tax credits, and right now, as we recommended to the PUC, and the work we do with the PUC has to be redone ASAP, and none of this should be passed without looking at equity. Key bono, who benefits from this? Society. It can be done at half the price right now, or less. What is society, who's going to benefit? The people that get the cancer and die, their kids with asthma. 47% of the kids at the school last night had asthma. What's going to happen to them later on,
Thank you.
All right.
Any other member of the public like to speak on item number 2? Please come forward. Any other public comment on item 2?
No one from here.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 2.
I'll move the item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Bartlett.
Hang on.
Yeah, okay.
Hang on real quick.
Call
again, please.
I'm good.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Hold on.
Aye.
Could I have a minute, Mr. Chair?
Hold on, stand by on the vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I need to disclose that on this item number 2, I don't have a financial interest, but I'm required to identify that I'm a board member of the California Air Resources Board, and that's involved in this agenda item. Sorry, I didn't notice that earlier.
Wow, Bay came in the midnight hour on that one. Thank you for that disclosure. Thank you. Okay. So let's take a roll call vote once again on item 2.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Mosqueda.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes.
Thank you so much. So item number 3 is a receive and file, but I believe we have a member of the public like to speak on item number 3.
Chairman Lisa Mirasola is here to speak on the item. She has a presentation, I believe.
Staff is willing
Let's
to,
proceed with the presentation.
Staff is willing to waive.
it's at your discretion.
Lisa, the floor is yours. Let's do a presentation.
Thank you and good afternoon. This is a receive and file report regarding the Fuel Cell Partnership Executive Board meeting in April and activity report. So by way of background, the Fuel Cell Partnership was created in 1999. There are additional 2 executive board members that joined for 2019. So there are 15 executive board members shown in this slide, as well as Nicola Motors and Utani recently joined. In addition, there are 31 full and associate members who do not participate at the executive board level, but are also valuable members of the association. And so for the April board meeting, the executive board reviewed the 2030 roadmap fuel cell revolution, as well as key activities for this year to further develop this roadmap regarding market activation, hydrogen production, and network development. So they'll be expanding communications and planning to celebrate their 20th anniversary this year. They're collaborating to increase their impact beyond California, while still focused on California, and supporting medium and heavy duty vehicles, as well as they discuss the program planning for this year. So there are further details about the annual highlights on their website. So regarding their goals for 2019, they're planning to accelerate deployment of hydrogen refueling stations with the goal of 200 by 2025 and 1,000 by 2030, depending on additional investment to reach those goals, and also increasing their focus on medium and heavy duty refueling stations, which will also help the overall network of vehicle deployment. So they're sharing and synchronizing their experience with other organizations and reaching out to target markets to increase education and promote hydrogen and fuel cell electric vehicles. Just a few highlights. Recently, there was an event at the Port of Los Angeles showcasing Toyota and Kenworth fuel cell trucks, as well as a meeting at the Sunline Transit Agency for their zero emission bus Center of Excellence. So increasing the training for transit agencies to help them adopt fuel cell buses in their fleets, and celebrating the upgrade of the Air Liquide hydrogen station at LAX. So it's especially impactful to see the Toyota truck, fuel cell truck, hauling a load of Toyota fuel cell Mirais for delivery. So that kind of gives you the big picture overall for where we're heading. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions or go on to public comment.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Mitchell.
So how many fuel cell stations do we have now in California?
We have 40 open retail for light duty vehicles. There are more in development, and so those are coming online as well. There are 20 in Southern California.
And we expect 200 by 2025?
Yes, there's public co-funding from the California Energy Commission for the first 100. There was plans for additional funding, but in the meantime, CARB has amended the low carbon fuel standard that will try and encourage additional private investment and provide basically additional credit for building capacity of stations early, as well as the throughput. And so hopefully that will encourage more stations developed both for hydrogen and for electric vehicles.
And the cost to do one of these fuel cell stations, it used to run around $1 million. What is it? Is that the ballpark figure for those?
The public co-funding is about that. The expectations of the stations are growing and the throughput of the stations are growing, so the dollar amount per station is not necessarily going down, but the stations are getting larger over time. So we could
So it's
provide more.
probably 2 to 3
Yeah.
million per station, and they're also the higher pressure ones now, so, and also Lisa's mentioning they're looking at 1,000 kilogram per day, isn't that right? Stations down, now they're only like 100, so it's a factor of 10 larger to meet the increasing demand. If you get a chance, you can go out to our station here on a Friday afternoon, and there's cars just lined up trying to get some fuel before the weekend.
Right.
But the new stations that are being co-funded will have either 2 or 4 fueling
Larger
positions.
capacity.
So you're not just stuck with one pump and you have to wait in line for that.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, the pressure is low, so you only got
Exactly.
10 kilograms instead of 4 or no 4. It only takes 4 kilograms, I
Right, so
think,
yeah,
right? You
4.
only got
So you
2
only
instead
get-
of 4.
Probably 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we believe we have a card on this item. Is it Mr. Etter? Come
We
speak
do.
on item.
That's right, we do.
How much time is left in this 3 minutes?
30 seconds, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay, it's me again, ditto. Everything that I said before goes about equity and setting up systems for who's gonna own this and benefit from it. Key bono. That's done with equitably, because our 2/3 of the culture has not been gaining an income the last 30, 40 years. This is big problems for our democracy, and we know what's happening with the federal and state government now. So these things have to be
Time's expired.
dealt with. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Artie.
Any other speakers? On item number 3?
No one out here in CC8.
Thank you. So with that, on item 3, the action of this committee to receive and file item number 3. Thank you, Lisa, for the presentation. Any other business before this committee? General public comment. Members of the public like to speak on a non-agenda item, please come forward. You'll be given 3 minutes.
Mr. Etter would like to speak.
Please come forward. Thank you.
Hi, for the record, it's me, ditto. Here's the thumb drive that's on the record, including in there studies on spreading drug-resistant antibiotics, antifungals through this so-called renewable natural gas. There's body counts there, is death. It's been in the record for at least 3 years, and you're ignoring it. This is from the CDC, the federal government, and the WHO. I'm sorry, man. It published on Monday, which we just got today from you folks, a copy had trouble connecting, in the Federal Register of the District 16 plan. Okay, we propose the Solar New Deal. like 50 exhibits, all of the stuff. The district ignored it, didn't evaluate any of it, as I just referred to the part about the criticism of the waste systems for the gas. There is, in the 12 plan, we litigated the 12 plan, and there's stuff in here. It was very weak stuff, didn't address issues, but it said solar, it said what we put in, and this doesn't, as far as I can tell, it doesn't say one word about solar energy, okay? This is a major problem. Taken with that, it was included 6 years ago, whatever, and it's purged now. Okay, I asked Wayne, he goes, don't you guys, you hold the hand and you deal with CARB and EPA? You're working together on this. It's your responsibility. He goes, oh, I said, look, your responsibility. This is what's happening, and this is, I used the term when I saw him, there's a term from the Dire Straits, big trouble in the land of plenty from once upon a time in the West. That's what we got right here in Diamond Bar City. You know, show me wrong, but we got to litigate on this, and we got to join forces. And if these other so-called environmental groups and whatnot don't join, and you know, those that are in favor of dealing with equity issues and environmental justice, and I don't know. Damn, I hate to give up time. Okay, all right. There's two things that weren't in here. This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein on the board of 350, Capitalism versus Climate. And then there's a 28K an hour executive from an oil company. Okay, we're putting in 18K an hour, and this is whistleblowing. There's triple on that. Okay. You had everything for free, okay? You don't respect what you don't pay for. Apparently, you have no value to it. So, and also Piketty's book, The Economist, from 14 on the 21st century on equity in modern capitalist countries in the West, in the U.S.
Thank you, Harvey.
Thank you.
It's not in with the documents you said.
Thank you. Any other member of the public like to speak on general public comment? No one here in Los Angeles.
No one else is here. No one else here wants to comment.
Okay, so we are now.
Good here, Riverside.
Thank you. We're now adjourned. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.